Welcome to Bring Your Brilliance. Are you ready to find and amplify your voice? Looking to be inspired by those who are already out there making it happen? Listen in as we shine a light on those who bring their full, authentic selves to do what they love, make no apologies, and don't try to fit into other people's boxes. With your host, Carla Taylor, who, after years of being inspired by the brilliantly shining people she was meeting, decided others need to hear these stories too.
Hello and welcome to the Bring Your Brilliance radio show here on Inspired Choices Network. I am Carla Taylor, and this is my 25th episode, and I'm so excited to be reaching this milestone. Still feels like we're just getting started, but I've already learned so much in 25 episodes, and we have such a special guest for this particular episode. I am so thrilled to be able to introduce you to my friend, my coach, my business partner. She is so many amazing things, and she is one of the most powerful women I have met. So Jaimi Jansen is our guest today. I want to tell you a little bit about the show, and then we're going to go ahead and jump right into the conversation. So first, do you know the success strategies that you need to get you where you want to go? And do you know how to get your business and your life to the next level? So today I'm chatting with nationally recognized, award-winning Jaimi Jansen, who created success systems. That's really a key that she'll be talking about, is systems to grow her own business into a multi-million-dollar company with 3 locations and over 70 employees. She now helps other companies systematize every aspect of their businesses to work themselves out of a job. She will share with us how speaking your truth, pivot moments, and making the impossible possible have all been part of her own journey, as well as how she brings her brilliance to make a difference for others. So Jaimi Jansen is a business visionary. She's a pioneer of the integrative wellness model and founder and CEO of multi-million-dollar company Santa Cruz Core Fitness and Rehab. Jaimi was nationally recognized as Entrepreneur of the Year, created the Pivot Women's Leadership Conference, and is currently providing organizational and business development consulting to leading medical professionals and innovators in the health and wellness industry. She has worked as a consultant with NASA, a key player with startups, and received the Mind Body Bold Visionary Award for Excellence and Achievement in Business. She's spoken at medical conferences, business associations, and entrepreneurial organizations as an expert in both fundamental and advanced business that's a hard word. I can't say it. I'm going to let Jaimi say that word. Whatever, never mind.
Systemization.
There you go. And lots of operational awesomeness. Let's just end with that. So, Jaimi, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
I'm so excited to introduce our listeners to you because I have been getting to know you, and I have been so blessed by you in my life. So I'm so excited for people to get to hear from you directly on the Bring Your Brilliance show. So one of the things I like to start with my guests is really, I've given a kind of a big, giant, broad overview of your background, but really helping people understand. I've done a lot of work with people in their career journeys and that sort of thing, really helping people understand what a career journey can really be like. So if you wouldn't mind to walk us briefly through yours and help us understand how you got from there to here, and then we'll dig into some more of what you do to help others.
Great. Yeah, absolutely. So I like to say that I made lemonade out of lemons. When I was in college, I played basketball, and I tore my ACL playing basketball. So I'm 38 now, so when I was 19, I tore my ACL, and I was at University of California at Santa Cruz. I transferred home from a school back east and was rehabbing my knee, and I was riding my bike down the main road that cut through campus, and I was hit by a car. And they found me 70 feet from where the car was. And I had traumatic brain injury. I had re-injured my knee that I was rehabbing. I shattered my clavicle, and I was lucky I didn't break my neck, and I had lacerated my foot pretty heavily. So I had this pretty life-changing experience being an athlete and identifying as an athlete and someone who I thought was, I thought I was intelligent, pretty smart, and having a traumatic brain injury. It was a real eye-opening experience, and I had to go through a lot of counseling. I was diagnosed with PTSD, and I had to go all over the Bay Area. I'm from California and Santa Cruz, and I had to go to San Francisco, Monterey. I had to go everywhere to try and find care because I had chronic pain even after, like, my bones were healing and my surgeries were done. I still had incredible pain. And so I found that it was a combination of mindset and mindfulness and meditation and, like, personal growth in addition to the physical repair of massage, acupuncture, chiropractic, corrective exercise that could really help me to get better. And so what I did was after I graduated college, I thought, okay, I want to go to medical school, but I want to leverage my time. So I, of course, thought I would start a business. And starting a business in my early 20s, it was interesting because I was pretty naive. You know, I didn't have a master's in business, and I just wasn't even sure, like, necessarily what to do, but I thought this was the right thing to do. And back in the 2009, the integrative wellness was really not a thing. You know, people maybe rented space, but people didn't collaborate at the level that I was hoping. So because I didn't want to have a place where people would come and have to repeat their story over and over again. So I wanted to create a place that people could heal emotionally, but also physically. And then that's kind of like the initiation into my journey. 10 years later, here I am, going on our 11th year in business. So
wow.
I
started,
yeah.
I was just going to say that is such a powerful point, and maybe even what you call this pivot point of where you had this massive thing happen to you, and as you were living through that and digging your way out of it and realizing all of the different parts that you needed to heal, then you turned that into a business opportunity and figured out a way. And gosh, that's so important. And I know, yes, there's a lot of integrative wellness out there now, but there's still not that much. Like, there's still a lot of people who haven't even gotten what you're doing yet. You know, like, you're still a pioneer and at the forefront of that. I've been in the healthcare industry for many years, and that's one of the biggest problems, exactly what you said about having to keep repeating your story and making sure all the care is coordinated and all of the things, the whole person, not just the physical injury or just the mental or emotional or just the different types of therapy, or, you know, all of that comes together. Wow. I actually recently went through something with my son about 2 years ago, and we had to go to 12 different doctor's offices, and it was nuts. So I love what you're doing with that.
Yeah, I was re-injured a few years ago, and I wasn't able to walk, and so from there I learned about alternative healthcare in the form of regenerative medicine, so prolotherapy, platelet-rich plasma injections, and stem cell rehabilitation. And so I partnered with a doctor and created a medical group, and basically what we're doing now is being able to offer regenerative medicine in our clinic, and like you mentioned in my bio, I've expanded to multiple locations, and then have started doing consulting as well because I want to be able to share my marketing and business savviness and entrepreneurial talent with others.
That's fantastic, and it's such a gift to those of us that you are sharing that with. A little bit more, though, so your whole initial part of your career was focused on building this business. Is that correct, or did you do something beforehand?
Say that one more time.
I was saying, as far as just kind of walking us through your journey of getting to where you are today, it sounds like you were injured young enough that your entire career has been entirely focused on building this business, and then now where you've expanded from there.
Yeah, exactly.
And so I think that's also one of the things I've heard people say over the years of when people start businesses, a lot of times the youngest people often do the best because they don't know what they can't do. Not only do they not know what they don't know, but they don't know what they can't do. So they just assume it can be done and they go out there and do it, which is awesome. And clearly one of the things that I think served you very well. Yeah,
I mean, I think it was not like, you know, can it be done or can it be done? It was how can it be done? You know, I've in my life experience as young as, you know, being in junior high and high school, I would receive a no because maybe the classes weren't at the time that I wanted, but I would be the student that would go into the vice principal's office and help arrange the schedule. So it was like, okay, like when I hear a no, I don't just take it as a no. I think, okay, how can I make it happen? There's got to be a way.
Yeah. I love that. I love your how can I approach to making and so much even more beyond, I've worked with you in a couple different capacities now, and you take that everywhere. Like, that's just who you are, which is one of the things that I love most about you, is you don't let challenges stop you. So let's, first also, how long did it take you to go from, just starting out and like, was it a couple of years with one location, and then did you expand, or how did you grow? Did it all happen pretty quickly, and now you've just been, fine-tuning, or how did your business evolve?
Yeah, I wasn't interested in necessarily expanding into a second location because I really wanted to perfect what I've got going on, but I think that that's also, can be a really big dilemma or challenge when an individual such as myself, it has a little bit of perfectionist or a lot of perfectionist. We want to do the right thing, and we want to make it perfect before we expand. And I don't think that running a business is ever evolving, and so I don't think that that's realistic. So about, it's been 3 years since we opened our second location. So at year 6, we opened up our second location, and maybe year 6.5. And we started small, and it was really because we had patients that were like, can you please come see us in the southern part of the county? And so that's how we started. We started like kind of renting space from one person, and then we created our whole own facility and officially did that a couple of years ago, took over the facility, and then we moved to another bigger location last year. So we'll have been in our new bigger location in our second spot a year come January 1st. So yeah, I think that it just kind of naturally evolved, and now I'm realizing that perfection is, functional is great, and perfectionism is probably a never, and that's okay. It's kind of like there's always going to be a list to do, and you have to manage the expectation and also have balance in your life. So if I wanted to wait till it was perfect, I would never have expanded. And now I'm, kind of okay, well, now I have a couple locations. These are my pilots so that I can, take it nationally maybe.
Wow. And that's all of that is such good, I don't want to say the word data, but you are giving us that. I think and this is my next question for you, is what are your secrets to success? We're actually getting ready to take a break, so I want to come back to that when we come back. But I love the point you made about functional is the way to get it out there, and the perfection may never happen, and so many people get lost or caught up in that and afraid to put things out because it needs to be perfect first. So you just went and took it and ran with it, and also listened to what your customers needed and wanted, and heard them, and didn't just say, I think I want to grow over here, but you listened to what people were needing and wanting from you. So Let's take a quick break. I want to come back to that and hear more about some of these success strategies that served you well, and then where you have kind of grown and learned from there. So again, this is Carla Taylor. I am the host of the Bring Your Brilliance radio show. We are talking with Jaimi Jansen, and we will be back after the break.
We all have a personal brand. It's what people say about you when you're not in the room. What if you knew how to clearly and confidently communicate your value in a compelling way? Tune in to the Bring Your Brilliance radio show with personal branding and LinkedIn strategist Carla Taylor to discover the tools, resources, and inspiration you need to get started and keep growing. Are you ready to make your mark? Learn how to bring your brilliance by listening to the Bring Your Brilliance radio show every Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 a.m. Central, 8 a.m. Mountain, and 7 a.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com.
Are you a subject matter expert? Are you here to share your expertise with an audience waiting to hear from you in only the way you can deliver? Are you ready to have your voice amplified across the airwaves? Inspired Choices Network has a global radio platform streaming to millions of people across the world. Professionally produced and supported by an accomplished team every step of the way, you can broadcast from anywhere in the world, knowing your voice matters, and we ensure it is delivered with ease and efficiency. Eager to hear your message, the world awaits. Contact us today to become an Inspired Choices Network radio host. Email becomeahost@inspiredchoicesnetwork.com.
This is the Bring Your Brilliance radio show with personal branding and LinkedIn strategist Carla Taylor. To join today's conversation, call in the U.S. at 815-880-8255 or Canada at 613-800-8736 or Skype at Inspired Choices Network. Or ask a question or send a comment by email at bringyourbrilliance@gmail.com. Now, back to the program.
Welcome back to the Bring Your Brilliance radio show here on Inspired Choices Network. I am Carla Taylor, and today we are celebrating the 25th episode of Bring Your Brilliance, and we are talking with Jaimi Jansen, and she has just been sharing with us a little bit about how she grew her business up to multiple millions within the first 10 years. Jaimi, are you still there? Okay, she may not be there, so I'm going to recap a little bit of what she was just saying, and hopefully,
I'm here.
There she is. Hopefully, okay, great. So Jaimi, yes, you were talking about some of the things that you found successful about not waiting for perfection and also listening to what your customers were asking for in terms of how and when and where you decided to expand your locations.
Yeah, I was saying that one of the reasons why I expanded the location was market research, but a lot of it had to do with what the need was for the community and what the current clients were asking for. And so we made a decision about changing or adding a second location as a result. And so we've been there for 3 years now in that second spot.
That's fantastic, and congratulations on continuing to grow and expand. So I'm sure there were millions of lessons learned along the way, but what would you say are some of the biggest lessons that you learned from those early days and then kind of where you've shifted into now?
Yeah, I think that what I tell people when they're starting a business is it's the best evolution of self that there is, or one of the best. I'm sure having a kid is another one. Getting married is another one. But starting a business, definitely, because family may be more forgiving than people that you work with. So one of the times when I was probably just starting, I remember really thinking about myself and how much work I had to do and how challenging my experience had been at work, and that it was just so hard. And I was, how my face looked and how my body presented, I was just really unhappy because I was so overwhelmed. And the epiphany that I had in that moment, I think my parents were there just checking in on me, and I was at work on super late on a Saturday. And the epiphany that I had was that I was in the service industry, and no one really cared about how I was doing. And that was okay. It wasn't about me. It was about doing service to others. And I think once I really understood that and learned that and put my emotional backpack and took it off at the door, I could really show up and be more present with the people that were around me, whether it be my workers, my employees, my clients. That was it maybe sounds really basic, but it was super, super important for me. And then also, I think another one is just like I said, every day I'm a different person, and who I'm going to show up, how I am today is not how I'm going to show up tomorrow. And that's become one of our core values in our business, is consciously evolving. We're trying to be the best version of ourselves, and we're trying to encourage our clients and our staff to do the same thing.
That's so great. And I know, again, having worked directly with you, and I get to see that and experience that with you, it's awesome. And showing up for others and serving others, it's so much a part and a heart of what you do. And I think that's such a great point. So many people get caught up in, am I good enough, or are people looking at me, or how do they think about me? And really, I love your point about the service and focusing on what you're providing them, because that really is what's so, so important for the experience that people have of you and your business. What are some other things that you would share, or that you typically share with people when they ask you about starting or growing their businesses?
Yeah, I think the other one is it always costs way more money than you think. I had no idea what a marketing budget would look like, and I had a credit card or a couple credit cards and a student and a small business loan, and within the first 2 months of business, I maxed it all out. And then also, don't listen to people when they say no. Obviously have your business plan and have a plan in place. And what I did was I went to the worst case scenario. So for me, the worst case scenario was it was just 2008. It was the fall of 2008 when the crash happened, and I was like, I want to start this business. And anyone who I talked to was like, oh my God, you shouldn't do that. That's horrible. That's a bad idea. And instead of listening to other people, I mean, obviously some advice can be really good advice, but like having a plan and then going to that worst case scenario was really helpful for me, because I thought, okay, what's going to happen to me in the event that my business just crumbles? Okay, I'll file bankruptcy. I'm young enough. I'm not married yet. I'll just live at home, and that'll be okay with me. So I went to where I thought the worst thing that could happen, and I let go of that fear, and then I just moved forward because I was okay with it. And to me, that was really, really helpful in being able to go forward without fear as a guidance, instead more of inspiration and planning. So that was really helpful for me.
That's great. Yeah, our fears can be so debilitating if we let them take over. So I love that kind of worst case scenario approach to understanding maybe it's not as scary as you thought, or you'll know how to handle it when you get there, or just kind of facing the things that are keeping you back. So tell me now
one of the
how
things
you
that I've
shifted.
learned.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, well, one of the things I've learned was fear is false evidence appearing real. So oftentimes it's really limiting and constricting and contracting. And so when I can be in a place of compassion and confidence and love and affirmation and positivity and gratefulness, especially gratefulness, it's amazing what doors open up. And so I spent the first half of my business really wanting to control things, and the second half of my business really helping to be a guide and less of someone who has to have it done a certain way. You know, like some things, yes, because of the nature of them, you know, a medical procedure or something needs to be done a certain way, but how communication takes place and how the nature of the business is growing, like I start by being grateful. Being grateful for all the things that I have, and that usually helped me to find solutions to challenges and problems that may arise.
That's really cool. Like, I've heard people talk about being grateful before, but the way that you're framing it as the driving force behind everything that shifts you into being able to do some things differently, and also I think the way people respond to that, like you talked about going from controlling to guiding, is such a good point. So
yeah,
you've now gone beyond your current role, which of course you're still in and you're still doing, but you've been doing so much beyond that as far as going out into the world and doing speaking and the women's conference you started. And tell me a little bit more about that part of your journey.
Yeah, so I think 5 years ago I was injured for a second time, and it was debilitating. It was worse than the first one. I mean, I guess it was different, but I was unable to walk, and so I had a really, really bad back injury from a movement that I did, and so it was horrible. And it was, again, another great lesson. And sometimes people in the universe, I guess myself included here, needs a 2x4 for the lesson instead of just a subtle nudge. So I got my 2x4. My 2x4 was me flat on my back. But it was a great lesson. It took me out of doing, I'm very much a provider and a practitioner. I have a license in nutrition and massage therapy and corrective exercise and injury prevention and rehab. So I stepped out of doing a lot of the one-on-one training. I still do assessments because I do enjoy the connection with people, but I stepped out of that mostly and started to work really on the business. When I was doing that, then I was able to open up a little bit more time and really kind of improve my business, and that's how it really, really started to grow. I had to let go, be in less control, and affirm that I had set up systems in place so that people could follow them, and they did, and our business just really began blossoming. So then I decided that I feel like I'm just too small, like I'm just playing it too small, and I need to play bigger, and there's fear associated with that. And so I just got out there and I started doing, public speaking, and I really, really enjoy, and I'm passionate about speaking my truth and sharing my story in front of people and helping in a way to help others. And so I started doing that, and then people just started asking me to consult them because they'd seen how I've created my business. And so I started to work with other physicians, medical practitioners, and then just other entrepreneurs who needed help in business. And that's kind of how it got started.
And again, you packed so many powerful points into to one piece. It's hard to always take it all apart, but I love what you're talking about and what you're doing, and what I'm actually really interested in learning more about is the word I'm struggling with, systematize, or systems that you create. What are some of the things that people can systematize, or whatever the word is that I may not be saying correctly?
Yeah, so I'm all about business systemization, and what that means to me is, everything, to where the phone is placed, to how someone greets somebody, to, how a session is run, how a consultation takes place. This is all things in my business, but with every business, like, I don't train to the individual, I train to the system. So I first do the work, whatever the work may be. So, like, for sake of ease and discussion, like, okay, how to answer the phone, how to collect money, how to run a cash drawer report. I do all the systems, I figure it out. And then I have somebody else come in and I teach them, I show them how to do it, and then they do it and I watch them. And then they repeat it back to me so I know they understand it. And then what we do is we take it a step further and we either record it in a video or on a Google document with screenshots so that it's like really systemized. And we've developed a training system for most of our positions here based on that. But when you have a business systemization, when somebody leaves, there is a record then of like how that job is supposed to be done and a protocol for how it's supposed to happen. And so there's better compliance, and the business doesn't like go backwards or slide backwards because they don't have that one person there. So I talk about in one of my talks, I talk about a bus factor. I didn't create this term, but I definitely use it. And so I have people raise their hand and I say, okay, how many people, if you were to get hit by a bus today, how many people would your business be able to survive? How many people, what's your bus factor? So if I were to die today, if I were to get hit by a bus and be indisposed or go on vacation without cell phone reception, that's a more positive way to say it, would the business still be able to exist without me? And for me, the answer is yes. And so it's like, what is your bus factor? How many people have to be removed for your business to not be functioning anymore? And so for me, it would probably have to be a lot of people before my business would not work. And so that means that my business is pretty stable because it's not reliant on just one person. Sure, it hurts when somebody leaves, for sure, but the business can still be very functional.
Wow, that is some profound truths right there. The bus factor, and I think I may have heard it before, but you're just like the way you just framed it too, that if you were hit by a bus, could your business still run? And I think that's what you're probably referring to when you talk about working yourself out of a job, that you are not the linchpin or that you don't have to be there for it to run well and smoothly.
Right.
So we are going to take another break. When we come back, I want to hear more about this. I want to hear a little bit more about setting up those systems and the training and training to the system rather than the person. Like, I spent my life in training, and this is like, why are people not doing this? So I want to talk a little bit more about that when we get back. Again, my name is Carla Taylor. We are here on Bring Your Brilliance on the Inspired Choices Network talking with Jaimi Jansen, and we will be right back.
We all have a personal brand. It's what people say about you when you're not in the room. What if you knew how to clearly and confidently communicate your value in a compelling way? Tune in to the Bring Your Brilliance radio show with personal branding and LinkedIn strategist Carla Taylor to discover the tools, resources, and inspiration you need to get started and keep growing. Are you ready to make your mark? Learn how to bring your brilliance by listening to the Bring Your Brilliance radio show every Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 a.m. Central, 8 a.m. Mountain, and 7 a.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. This is the Bring Your Brilliance radio show with personal branding and LinkedIn strategist Carla Taylor. To join today's conversation, call in the U.S. at 815-880-8255 or Canada at 613-800-8736 or Skype at Inspired Choices Network. Or ask a question or send a comment by email at bringyourbrilliance@gmail.com. Now, back to the program.
Welcome back to Bring Your Brilliance. My name is Carla Taylor, And we are today celebrating the 25th episode of this show, and we are also talking with the fabulous Jaimi Jansen. And if you are looking to learn more about Bring Your Brilliance or Inspired Your Choices Network, you can go to inspiredchoicesnetwork.com, or you can go to bringyourbrilliance.net, and we've got all kinds of fantastic things actually coming up for 2020. So I've got a 3-part LinkedIn workshop series that includes your LinkedIn profile, your LinkedIn company page, and your content creation. I've also got the 90-day Brilliance Planner. I'm so excited to introduce you to this. It's going to really change your pace and your trajectory and help you get your brilliance out to the world in 90 days or less. It's really a powerful approach to working on whatever it is that your message is, and focusing on, like Jaimi said, serving others and what you can do for them. So, Jaimi, before we jump back into the content we were just talking about, can you tell us about, if people are listening and hearing all this, truth bombs and all the things that you're sharing, how can they get a hold of you, or where can they find you, or learn more to be able to work with you directly?
Yeah, I have a coaching website. It's JaimiJansen.com, JaimiJansen, JaimiJansen.com, and I do a 30-minute discovery call, and they can sign up for that complimentary. And then also my company is Santa Cruz Core Fitness and Rehab, and that website is santacruzcore.com. And that is all about our integrative wellness. We do wellness retreats and kind of full immersion programs where people can come and stay at a location in Santa Cruz and kind of experience all the health and well-being they can handle for a set period of time. And also social media is great. We are on Instagram and Facebook, and so our Instagram handle is Jaimi Jansen, and then the social media for Santa Cruz Core is just at Santa Cruz Core.
Fantastic. Thank you for sharing all of that. And again, if you're just tuning in, Jaimi is an award-winning, multi-million-dollar, successful businesswoman who has created her own success and is now really looking out to help others to emulate and get to their own levels of success. You were talking before the break about systems and how you train to the system rather than the person. And I just want to, again, acknowledge I am a person who has created training for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of companies. And yes, that happens sometimes, but that's so not the norm. Most people train the individual, they train the role even, but the huge problems that come about when there isn't a system or documented processes and that knowledge transfer, especially as the baby boomers are retiring en masse and everything else, there's been so many challenges in the training world around that. And what you just said is like, oh, wow, yeah, that's so simple, but it's so the way it should be.
Yeah, it really is amazing to me too how every business is different, and so even though my business is what I would consider maybe more of a small business, that's a pretty big business idea, and I think that a lot of people could learn from it.
So when you first start working with others, or when you're asked to speak in front of other people, what are some of the things that people are asking you most about, or that like a lot of people have kind of like their golden nuggets that they like to share, and I know you've already shared a few of them, but what are some other things that you found that a lot of people are needing to hear from you?
I think all the business stuff for sure, but one of the things that I realize is that I've been talking about recently is, let's see, my last talk was on, I called it, I think, Pathway to Success, but really the other name that I had for it was Failing Forward, and it was about how each experience in your life, especially the failures, instead of thinking about them as failures, it's they're really gold nuggets. They're the gold nuggets that tell you how not to do something. It's like Thomas Edison and the journey of the light bulb, and how it took, someone maybe mentioned to him, wow, you failed a lot. How did you do this? He goes, no, I didn't fail. I found 10,000 ways how not to make a light bulb. And I kind of, it's again, it's about reframing and the power of your thoughts. And that's one of the most recent things I spoke on, because that's helping us to discover who we are and how we can show up in the world. And when we can be better and more have a better sense of self, it allows us to contribute to society better and be better leaders and better business owners. And so that, I think, is something that I've started speaking on more recently.
That's so great. And again, so many people get tripped up by failure, feeling like, well, I tried and it failed, so I give up. And you have been saying even today consistently, rather than hearing the no, it's the how can I, or rather than looking at the failure, just look for that learning point of, like, you know, in your example, the 10,000 ways it didn't work, you're learning from each one so you can keep fine-tuning and getting better and better with each try. So what would you say are some of the things that people should avoid, or some things that maybe they don't have to trip up on because they can learn from you and some of those lessons that you learned along the way?
Yeah, that's a good question. Some of the things that people maybe could learn from me is definitely having a game plan and being okay with the game plan changing, whether you're starting a business or growing your business or wanting to change your career. But definitely having a plan and then budgeting accordingly. Like I said earlier, you know, I don't think that you can, $25,000 to start a business with a marketing budget is just nothing. So it always costs more than, probably 20 to 30% more than you think. And then asking for help. One of the things that Brené Brown talks about is she doesn't like to work with people who don't know how to ask for help because she can't trust them. And when I heard that in her book, Dare to Lead, I really resonated with that, because when I give a task to somebody, like what I tell people when I give a task to somebody is, I'm a busy person, and when I give this task to you, it's your responsibility to come back and like follow up with me. I'm not a babysitter. I'm not gonna hound you on it, but like, here's the deadline, and if you need anything, let me know. And so if they don't have the ability to know where their limits are, then when the time comes for them to turn it in, or the deadline is there, they're not successful. And so then I failed because I don't think I communicated effectively, and then they didn't complete their task. They didn't do their job. And so what's important to me is, yes, training to the system, and that's what I think a lot of people can take away, but also hiring the right kind of people. So you want to hire growth mindset versus fixed mindset people. You know, fixed mindset individuals are individuals who, you know, they're kind of in a box and they like their little box, and they, you know, they follow the orders and everything, and they don't necessarily problem solve. They don't have very good problem solving capabilities. And so hiring people that have problem solving capabilities is super, super valuable to me and really important. And because that means that they're going to look outside themselves for the answers if they get stuck. And that's the key. So that kind of goes along with what Brené Brown says, is like, you know, not being able to trust somebody if they don't know how to ask questions. So, because you're not being able to trust them, like, not that they're going to steal, but like that they aren't going to be able to get the job done effectively because they don't know how to find help when they get stuck.
I love that. And yeah, that's another stopping point. I think that a lot of people, especially when they're trying to be the CEO of their company, or they're trying to be an expert out in the world, and they want to have all the answers, and yet we can all tell if you don't totally know the answer anyway. And the worst thing you want to do is give a completely wrong answer too. And I think people are now actually embracing, and it's refreshing for somebody to say that they don't have the answer just, you know, out in the world. But then especially if you're working directly with people, I agree with you. And I love that your management style is, even you hire the right people, you hire these problem solvers, and then you let them go figure it out. And it is up to them to come to you. You're giving them that autonomy to be able to create their own experience. And part of that, and really the core of everything at the end of the day, is it comes down to communication.
Yeah, it really does. I mean, effective communication. And I think that as the generations change and how parenting changes, it's going to affect how we communicate in the workplace. I mean, I'm seeing it already. And what I mean is, you know, there might have been more direct verbal discipline, you know, and nowadays it might not be that way. I'm not a parent yet, so I can't speak to that, other than my experience of seeing employees get hired and then them not being able to handle direct communication. So I think that, there's a generation of like, oh, well, everyone deserves a prize. Like, everyone's a winner. And though we'd love to think that everyone's a winner, people need to have an understanding that, like, you're not always going to be the best. And then just because you're showing up doesn't mean you're the best. Showing up is the bare minimum. Whereas nowadays what I'm seeing, and I'm having to let people go at work, is that showing up to me is not enough. And that's not, you don't show up and get on your phone for work. Like, it's a job and you do work, and there's a work ethic involved. And some individuals don't understand that. So I don't know if there's like a different parenting book that was out during a certain time period or what, but I'm just seeing this trend. And of course, I'm generalizing. Not everyone in their younger years is like that, but that's what I'm seeing.
Well, yeah, I think there definitely was a whole generation that grew up with, the participation trophy, that they didn't want anybody to feel bad. And it actually, I think, has really done a disservice, because then they don't know the value of working hard or the hard work that comes along with it. And it actually makes everything else mean less when everyone's just acknowledged. And so, yeah, I do think there's been a lot of professionals even talking about how that's affecting the workforce. So what are some of the things that you have found to help with that? Like, how do you reach out and communicate better with those people and help them move past that initial fear of feedback, I guess is maybe what we would call it?
Yeah, I think that we have video training that we offer our new hires, and with the video training we talk about the type of environment that we've created and cultivated here. We talk about our core values, and I get it that I'm, the CEO, so I'm like the big boss. I'm not the direct manager, but sometimes I'll come in and talk to people who are not directly managed by me. And so there's a certain weight in just me coming in and communicating. And so I have to acknowledge that and know that, I have a certain influence. And also I need to acknowledge too that they are where they're at. And so for me, it's having patience and being clear, calm, and assertive. And also just communicating kindly and compassionately, and kind of helping them along. There's some people that you just can't help, and it's just not a good fit for the company, but we try and figure that out really, really soon. If they don't identify with our core values, then we don't hire them, or if somehow we've hired them, and they don't identify with their core values, they won't probably be here very long. Consciously evolving is one of them. Behaving in integrity is another one. And so we teach, like, okay, if you have an issue or a challenge with somebody, like, go directly to that person, because we don't like to have gossip. And so we're trying to teach better, more direct communication, because it's super, super essential.
Absolutely. Like, yeah, communication is at the core, and you actually keep using the word core, which I love, because obviously that's in the name of your business, but it really is having, like you mentioned, the core values and communication at the core of making sure that people are working better together and able to complement each other to further the mission and further what you're doing for your clients. So we are already at our next break. I want to go ahead and talk about some of the things that you're doing from here. And if there's any questions or things that you wanted to make sure to talk to us about, let's make sure we cover those when we get back to. But again, this is Jaimi Jansen we're talking to. I'm Carla Taylor on the Bring Your Brilliance radio show on Inspired Choices Network, and we'll be right back.
We all have a personal brand. It's what people say about you when you're not in the room. What if you knew how to clearly and confidently communicate your value in a compelling way? Tune in to the Bring Your Brilliance radio show with personal branding and LinkedIn strategist Carla Taylor to discover the tools, resources, and inspiration you need to get started and keep growing. Are you ready to make your mark? Learn how to bring your brilliance by listening to the Bring Your Brilliance radio show every Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 a.m. Central, 8 a.m. Mountain, and 7 a.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. This is the Bring Your Brilliance radio show with personal branding and LinkedIn strategist Carla Taylor. To join today's conversation, call in the U.S. at 815-880-8255 or Canada at 613-800-8736 or Skype at Inspired Choices Network. Or ask a question or send a comment by email at bringyourbrilliance@gmail.com. Now, back to the program.
And welcome back to Bring Your Brilliance. We are here on Inspired Choices Network. My name is Carla Taylor. We have been talking with Jaimi Jansen about some secrets to success in business and life. And we were just talking about, Jaimi, before the break, you mentioned that hiring the right people with a growth mindset that are problem solving, and then giving them the ability to go out there and do that. And then all of the ways that you've been able to communicate and really, I also love the point you made about you are the CEO, and so there is a gravity or a heaviness to the message that you bring. So you've got to be really careful with that and make sure that you are showing up all the time in that role, because, as you know, as a CEO, there is no casual comment made by a leader when you have an organization like that. And so I think that it sounds like, been really, really successful at really being cognizant and aware of the role that you play within your own organization.
Yeah, and even, as CEO, I doubt myself and have challenges. I mean, I don't think anyone is perfect all the time or super confident all the time, I was helping train somebody yesterday, and, I've never been called a name at work in my 10 years of working here, and I was called a name, really inappropriately, and I was shocked and taken aback. Wow. And it was like, okay, well, I mean, I'm always looking at what I can do and how I can do better, and also I have to remember that, sometimes I do my best under the circumstances, and it's still, it's not me, so, yeah. I mean, needless to say, that person doesn't work with us anymore. but yeah, I mean, I think we all go through challenges.
Well, I love that you just brought that up, because I have talked to so many people. I've done a lot of coaching myself. I've done a lot of my own business work, and one of the things I finally got my aha around is that I think a lot of us, when we're starting out or still growing or wanting to hit that $1 million mark or the multi-million or the billion or whatever next goal people have, there's this assumption that, well, once you get to that point, then it's just smooth sailing and everything's perfect. And I love that you just brought that up, because everybody has challenges at every single level, and oftentimes in the bigger roles or the bigger dollar amounts, it's similar challenges, just much bigger figures that you're using, or there's new challenges, but it's never just like, oh, I've made it, now we're good, we can just stand here and be here.
Yeah, I think it's a moving target, and I think that when, for me personally, I'm in my body, I'm in my own story, and so we tend to normalize where we're at, and it doesn't seem exceptional because we're in our own story. When someone looking out from outside is like, wow, that's really incredible what that person's done. So I think that for being present, I think, is a really good lesson that I've learned this year, and just being okay and being in the moment, and that way we can really do our best, be our best selves, and have our best life experience. And yeah, as we earn more money, and as we have more success, we talk about those things, and on Instagram and Facebook, it's the highlight reel of our life, and it doesn't talk about necessarily the challenges, but really what I found is the human population, they all really want to be loved, they want to feel included, they want to be part of something, they want to be inspired, they want to belong. And so no matter what dollar amount you've got, no matter, what background you have, the core value, the needs and desires, obviously food and shelter and clothing, that too, but everybody really, it's we're all the same. And I think that as I look outside myself and go, oh, what are they doing? And it's everyone's challenges are very, very similar, and it is kind of inspiring in a way. It's it doesn't matter what background they have or how rich and famous they are. It's everyone still wants the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, oh my gosh, and that's even true when you travel or you work with global leaders. That of course there's difference in background and culture and everything else, but at the end of the day, it's that human to human, and that human need to be a part of something bigger than yourself, or that human need to, like you said, feel seen and heard and valued. And everybody still needs that and wants that at every level.
Yeah, so I mean, I think one of the things that I'm really looking forward to in my next kind of phase is trying to find a COO of my company so that I can do more public speaking and consulting, because I really enjoy that, and I think that I can have a bigger impact. And that's really what one of my goals is to see how I can show up a little bit bigger in the world and be able to help that many more people. My mission in my business is to help as many people as possible achieve their optimal health. And to me, optimal health is on a spectrum. So maybe today someone has pain in their back. Maybe someone can't run, but they would like to. So we meet people where they're at, and we help them to get to where they are going to be optimal. And that is a changing goal. So we're always working to be the best version of ourselves. So maybe once they get to be able to have less back pain, then they have to set another goal for themselves. And it's kind of like that in life. Like, you know, I've been very fortunate to be able to learn a lot and help a lot of people in the local community, and I really enjoy that. And now I'm like, okay, well, how can I make a bigger impact on the world? Because I want to leave the world better than I found it, and that's really, you know, I'm very purpose driven and mission driven, and that's kind of what I'm about. So that's my next goals.
That is awesome. So, wow, we are already at the end of our time. I love that, making it bigger and everything else. Any final thoughts or last words you want to leave us with?
Yeah, I think one of my quotes on my Instagram yesterday that I say is, you know, energy grows where attention goes. So focus on what you want and focus on how you're going to get it, and that's where, you know, you put your intention in, that's where the energy in the universe is going to go, and the universe always has your back. So really trusting in that.
Such great quotes and such great points. Jaimi, thank you so much. I know you are such a super busy person, and I so appreciate you taking this entire hour out here with us to talk to us and help share your message out to the people who maybe haven't heard from you before and need to hear from you, or might want to work with you or hire you to speak. You have been such a huge help and a blessing in my life with helping me dig into some of the things that I need to look at, and I love your direct approach as well, that you're all about execution and getting it done and making it happen, and you absolutely model the way for yourself as well as helping the people around you. So again, could tell us one more time how to get in touch with you?
Yeah, please check me out. Follow me on Instagram at JaimiJansen.com and at SantaCruzCore.com, and then my website, JaimiJansen.com and SantaCruzCore.com.
All right. So, folks, you heard it here. And, again, it's Jaimi, Jaimi Jansen. You can also see it on the show notes. And, again, my name is Carla Taylor. You are listening to the Inspired Choices Network. And Bring Your Brilliance is what I do. I help you bring your brilliance. So I've got so many different ways that I love to work with people in helping you grow your visibility and your voice on LinkedIn, figuring out and finding your voice and what it is, and then helping you figure out, like Jaimi was talking about, how you serve people, how to be grateful for what you have and focus on the giving that you do. And as I mentioned earlier, I've got some 3-part workshops coming up in January. We're getting ready to head into a brand new year. And I've also got the 90-day Brilliance Planner. So this is going to help you break things down from your 90-day goals down to your 30-day goals, all the way down to your weekly and daily goals, so that you can stay on track and really start making a big impact, just like Jaimi said she was doing, going out bigger into the world, figuring out who she can help, what she can do. I'd love to help you do that as well. So look for that. That's coming out in January. And next week we're going to be talking with Darla about taking things to the top. So my final thoughts for you are to go out there and really just be authentically you. Be bold, be brave, be brilliant, and be you. And focus on how you can shine and give your gifts to the world, because that's where the magic truly happens. So thank you for listening, Jaimi. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Bring Your Brilliance with Carla Taylor. For the latest updates and info on personal branding, please follow and interact with Carla Taylor on LinkedIn. And be sure to visit www.itstimetoBringIt.com. Join Carla Taylor every Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 a.m. Central, 8 a.m. Mountain and 7 a.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. Until then, keep